everyone, welcome back to our channel, Travis and Vanessa, and I'm making a 1-year follow-up video about my cochlear implant. And I'm sorry for the delay in making new videos. Life has just been very busy. From January until June, I was working 55 hours a week for a large project and we were just behind. So I didn't have extra time to do additional projects like making YouTube videos. And then in May, we started looking for somewhere to move, and I moved, and moving is its own chaotic, like packing everything up, getting everything ready, unpacking, getting your life back to normal, just monopolizes all your time. So finally, I've gone back to making YouTube videos. So I want to talk about my day-to-day life with my cochlear implant. Feels very normal at this point. I don't notice a sound difference when somebody's talking on my left side versus my right side. Everything just kind of blurs together, which I'm glad that I don't have some distorted left side. Like it goes together. The only big thing that's kind of a nuisance is when it tends to fall off, and I just have to be more aware of what I'm doing, because I like to sometimes I'll be like running or doing something athletic. If I'm jumping or any type of exercise, it'll fall, just kind of detach and fall on the ground, and it gives me a heart attack every time it falls off because I'm worried it's going to break, and it's a very expensive piece of technology. So it's not. I mean, I have a one time like lost or broken. They'll give me a new one, but that's like, I don't want to waste it, and I'm trying to be as careful as possible. So I have to train myself to think ahead and plan so that I do not cause it to accidentally fall off. And I've even had it fall off just putting like a hood on or hats. Those are kind of a nuisance sometimes because you want to wear a hood, but and sometimes I've taken the implant off and trying to put the hood on and then put the cochlear implant back on afterwards. Sometimes that works better. But then the other problem with hoods and hats is that I hear every rustle and sound, like it shifting across the cochlear implant. That's kind of annoying. Sometimes where it's like I hear everything, and not really what I want to hear, like speaking. I just hear the rustling of the uh, cochlear implant against the hat. I've been thinking about cutting holes in the hats to try to make that sound better. I like to crochet, so I've thought about trying to make my own, but I haven't gotten to it yet. So maybe down the road I'll try to make my own custom cochlear implant hat. So I don't have to hear the rustling anymore. Another inconvenience, or I mean, more often than not, I charge it and it lasts me all day. But sometimes, occasionally, I'll forget to charge it, and then you can wear your cochlear implant for a bit and it'll last. But then, when the battery's low or it's about to die, it will start beeping at you, and it doesn't just like let you know once and like, okay, yeah, it's gonna die. It likes to beep at you nonstop until it dies. Like it won't stop. Like it's not like I can just wear it for a few more minutes until it dies. It's like it has to let me know repeatedly until it completely shuts off, which is very annoying, especially if you're out and about doing something, so you don't have anywhere to put the cochlear implant. I mean, I should bring a case. I suppose I could put it in a case, but like sometimes it's just not ideal to take it off, and I just have to listen to it like beep 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 like constantly for the next few minutes, and that's not fun. But other than those things, like as long as I charge it, it's usually not a problem. It should last all day. It's just times when I forget. Okay. In terms of practice, I would say the first 6 months I was doing really well on keeping up with my practice, and at first my audiologist wouldn't let me do any streaming, so I had to practice with another person, and that pushed me, and I mean, it was in the very beginning, so I really pushed myself to practice, and Travis would help me and my mom. But you have to almost schedule practice times. And after a while, I feel like it gets harder and harder to schedule times with another person. And I know it's sometimes it's not always that fun to like practice random words. And once you get better and better, it feels easier, so you just don't feel like you want to, because they're like, wait, I feel like I've mastered this. But really, it's good to keep maintaining and strengthening it, not let your skills like degrade. So I did well with that, but then eventually she let me start streaming, and I got away from doing as much in-person practice with another person because I just didn't want to bother people as much, and I guess I was kind of getting bored with the random words and sentences. So I started multitasking, and I liked going to the gym, and I would stream like a show while doing cardio or something, like on elliptical. And I would stream a show, and I would stream it only to my implant so that I could try to hear the audio played in the show. And that was pretty good. I think TV shows are the hardest, like most challenging thing. Sometimes because you have all the background noise, and every TV show has a different sense of audio or how they play it. So I would often, to help me, I would put subtitles on, because even though I felt like I was doing very well, I wouldn't catch everything that was said in the TV shows. But it was a good practice in the real world. But as my life got busier and busier, it was harder to practice. So that's why I liked multitasking, because I wanted to exercise, but I also wanted to practice, and I could get two of those things done at once. If I tried doing it together with streaming, I couldn't do that with practicing with another person. But I do think practicing with another person in like the very beginning is really important, and that you shouldn't skip that step. But maybe as you start getting more advanced, you can find ways to practice on your own independently. And when I couldn't stream, it was almost impossible for me to practice on my own, because I tried listening to an audiobook and reading, but I would put my phone in front of me, and I would still hear everything with my right ear. And I tried propping it up on my left side, and it just wasn't going very well. So practicing on my own with like pre-recorded audio was not working at all. So that's why when I could start streaming, it was so nice that I was like, oh, I can practice on my own. I don't have to bother another person. So that was great for that. Some other ways you can practice is I use this one app called Angel Sounds, which has a pre-recorded person say a word, and then you have multiple choice to pick the right word. And that was useful, but it had limited number of lessons. Felt like it just kind of kept repeating the same words. So I used it for like maybe a couple of weeks, but then I needed more words, larger vocabulary of practice, so I didn't use that as much. But another good way is with audiobooks and a physical book in front of you. The problem with this is, if, say, you don't want to buy the book and the audiobook, you can sometimes get it from the library, but I found it very hard to find the paper copy book and a copy of the audiobook at the same time. Either one was checked out and the other one was available, or they only had like the hardcover and no audiobook, or vice versa, where you have only the audiobook and no hardcover book. So that was hard to time it, and then you only have it for a limited period of time. So because I was busy, I didn't always get to that type of practice. So those are the challenges. But what would be ideal is if you can buy the book and buy the audiobook, and then you can practice when you need to. And if you enjoy reading, this is really nice way to practice because you enjoy the story, and I liked it. I'm doing that right now with a book. I bought the book and an audiobook, and I just whenever I decide to read it, it helps motivate me because I want to read the book. So I just do the streaming as well at the same time. And you can see the text in front of you, see the words, and then you hear the audio, and then you know for sure you're connecting the right words together and you're hearing the right sounds. It just trains your brain to know what to expect. I think you're just getting yourself familiar with how those words sound. So then the next time you hear it, you know that's the right word. And I think that's what all this practice does is you're training your brain to know what it's going to sound like. In terms of streaming in general, like I have two different ways of streaming. I have this neck loop, telecoil neck loop, and I have this Artone, or no, not Artone. This is Medell Audiolink. This is Artone. Artone telecoil neck loop. So more often than not, I use this telecoil neck loop because it has more flexibility for me that I can use it with both the cochlear implant and my hearing aid. So I prefer to use this more often than not. And I do like it because I feel like it's lighter weight and that it feels more convenient. Like with this is kind of a little bit awkward shape. I don't know what to do with it as much. It comes with a long strap too. So I feel like when I wear it, it dangles really low and it feels like it's gonna swing and hit things. This is a little more concise and like tighter up. So I don't feel like it's in the way as much. So for some of those reasons, I like wearing this neck loop, the telecoil neck loop. But it is a little cumbersome in the fact that I always have to put this additional piece on. I feel like there's a lot of setup and prep work with streaming with a cochlear implant. But I mean, you just have to do what you have to do to get it to work. So, but I have to put this on, Bluetooth connected to my phone. Then I have to go and put the telecoil piece on my cochlear implant. And then, okay, originally I didn't have to do this third step. Originally, as soon as I put the telecoil piece adapter in my cochlear implant, it would put it in telecoil mode and I could start streaming something. The problem with that was that it was always making this static ticking noise when I wasn't streaming and I had the adapter piece in, and that was driving me nuts because I tend to listen to music at work and I work at a computer, so sometimes I can work independently and I can just listen to music and do my job, but then people will come over and talk to me or ask questions, so I have to stop it. And I'd stop playing the music, but I would still hear this like ticking noise in the background while I'm trying to talk to people, and it was like really bothering me. The only way I could fix it was to take the telecoil adapter piece out, but that was frustrating because I had to take it in and out like all day long. And I just wanted to leave the piece in, so I talked to my audiologist and she talked to Medell, and Medell has this app called the I think Audiolink, or no, Audio Key. And I have different programs on there. So they created a program for my telecoil mode so that it only starts streaming or accept the signal from this neck loop if I put it in that program. So that means even though I put the adapter piece in, to get it to switch to telecoil mode, I have to go to that app and switch it to the program. But the positive of this is that when I put the telecoil piece in, normally I don't have that static ticking noise in the background when I'm not streaming. So it just gives me more control, or I can turn it off and on. But I added another step when I start streaming. But for me, that's worth it because I like being able to leave the piece in and just change my settings on my phone whenever I need to. Some advice would be that in the past I have left this telecoil piece on while charging. I wouldn't recommend doing that because times that I've done that, it feels like the cochlear implant tends to die. The battery life dies early in the day. So I feel like this is causing it to not get its full charge. So after a couple times of that happening, I've avoided putting this on. I'll take it off. Make sure I take it off before I start charging it. In terms of the quality of the streaming and sound, that static ticking noise I was talking about earlier, I only hear it a little bit when I'm streaming with the telecoil neck loop. It really depends on what I'm listening to, but overall I don't think it's very noticeable. So I don't think of it as a very large disadvantage to the telecoil listening experience. So I'm okay with it, but it is there like subtly. With this I keep saying the wrong one, Audiolink. Adele Audiolink, I think the audio quality is a little more crisp, and it sounds slightly different than the Audiolink. I don't know how to describe the difference, but there is a subtle difference between them, and I think part of the difference might be because I wear this Audiolink so often that I've got myself very used to how this sounds. So then when I use this Audiolink, it sounds weird to me. But if I use this more often, it probably wouldn't be as strange. I think you get used to whatever you expose yourself to. So that's just my experience with it. I think there are other people that could say that this sounds more normal to them than the neck loop does. But I think that's all personal preference. So in terms of how music sounds when I'm streaming, I think it sounds pretty good. It sounds fairly normal in comparison to my right ear, where I only wear a hearing aid with, not a cochlear implant. So I think I have this advantage where I know what sounds are supposed to sound like, or what a song is supposed to sound like, because I've heard it before with my other ear. So when I stream it with my left ear, I think my brain's familiar with the audio, and it helps me perceive it as the same quality as it is with my right ear, because I know what it's supposed to sound like, and it just feels like I adapted and trained to it. That means that sometimes if I listen to a song that I haven't heard before with only the cochlear implant, I would say it sounds a little worse because I'm not as familiar with what I'm expected for it to sound like, but that doesn't mean it's terrible. I think it's pretty close and maybe a little different, and I think it also matters on what you're listening to. I think if you're listening to something with a lot of beats, like drums and rhythmic sounds, it's pretty good. But then when you get to things like melodies and pianos, it doesn't have as good, or doesn't do as good of a job, but I'd say it's pretty close. And I think a lot of it is practice. I think you have to do as much practice with music as you do with speech. And just exposing yourself to as much music as possible will help you become more and more familiar. And I think you should do the same thing as like when you read a book, listen to the audio. I think you should listen to a song with the lyrics right in front of you, and then you can start assimilating what those words sound like when they're sung with the correct text, and I think that will help music sound better to you. And overall, the amount of effort you put into it will drive your results. So if you want it to sound better, you have to put in the work. Cochlear implants, you have to practice, and I think you have to have a good mindset where if you go into it thinking everything's going to sound robotic and terrible, you will be self-fulfilling. You have to be adapt, or willing to adapt and get used to it in order to be successful. And I think that's my opinion. Like, don't go into getting a cochlear implant with a negative mindset. I think you have to be willing and open that it will be better than you think it's going to be. So, but at the same time, I don't think you should set the bar too high that you're greatly disappointed. Like, it's kind of happy medium on that. Like, don't go in with a negative mindset, but don't be expecting like perfection, because you don't want to be disappointed either. So I think just work, practice, use it as much as possible, even if it's hard in the beginning, and you will have better results overall. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, sometimes you can stream phone calls. The problem with that is, like I said, there's so much setup with streaming that sometimes I don't have everything Bluetooth connected and my telecoil piece in, and I'm in the right mode, like all set up in time that I received a phone call. More often than not, that I don't have everything set up, and so then I'll pick up the phone and I'll answer it with my other ear. And I know I just have to be more prepared. It's easier when I'm making the phone call out. I can set it all up before I want to go and call someone. But receiving phone calls and it being ready, I don't think is as easy or as quick as probably is advertised to be, at least in my experience. So this is just something to like plan or realize that you have to have everything Bluetooth connected and set up in order to really stream that phone call in time. So that's just kind of a disadvantage, but there's only so much we can do at this point. Like, there's always going to be limits to technology, and that's just kind of how it is at this point. Overall, like I said earlier, that everything sounds so normal. Sometimes during the day, I forget I have hearing loss because I don't hear my tinnitus as much. Everything feels louder and normal, which is great. It's always like a reminder at the end of the day when I have to go to sleep. So I take all my hearing aid and my cochlear implant off, and the whole world is so much quieter. And it's like, sometimes it's like a heavy reminder of like the sad reality that you have hearing loss. Because my tinnitus will get louder and it's harder when you're trying to sleep. And since I'm deaf in one ear, I'll sleep on this side, and then I just can't hear anything, which is kind of weird sensation sometimes. Sometimes it's useful. If you don't want to hear something, it's just kind of the whole world's just silence. Another con with that, though, is that if I'm sleeping on the wrong side, I can't hear my alarm. So I bought a special alarm clock where I can put under my pillow and I'll like vibrate at a certain time to try to help wake me up in case I'm sleeping on my good ear and I don't hear it. But it's a weird sensation, like feeling like your life is normal and then everything changing drastically when you take your devices off and then going back to normal and back and forth. So it's just, you get used to it, but it's hard to describe to somebody who doesn't have hearing loss to know what that's like, just having to be like shifted back and forth all the time. Oh, but that's just kind of a small overview, preview of what my life's been like for the past year, what it's like having hearing loss, and just, I don't know, openly talking about things I've noticed. And I'll try to make some more videos. I want to talk about cross aids versus my experience with cochlear implants. I want to try to do that soon. And after this, I'm going to play the footage from my 1 year appointment with my audiologist, and I do the tests to see how I've improved. And they did the same test I took before the surgery. They're doing it again, see if my results improved. So it's because they had to do the tests before the surgery to see if I qualified for a cochlear implant. And then they do it again to see how I did later. And a lot of it is just, well, speech recognition, sentence recognition. They also did some sounds and I had to press with a button. I cut that part out because I feel like you couldn't really see my hand pressing the button, and I feel like it was harder to tell what was going on. So I just included the parts that did the speech recognition, and they also did some tests where I had my cochlear implant and my hearing aid in, and it tested me to see how I was doing in the real world. So I hope you find that a little bit interesting. And towards the end of the video, she tells me my results for before the test and after the test and how much I've improved. And she thinks I'm in the range of where I should be, what she expected. So that's good to see that I am progressing pretty well overall, on track. So I think I'm glad I made this decision to get a cochlear implant. I think it was worth it. So I hope you enjoy this video and seeing the testing.
Sorry about that. She just came over and gave me the go-ahead for the next part. We're just gonna have you repeat back some words, okay?
Okay.
We're gonna find the softest level that you can repeat them back at.
Playground.
Playground.
Sunset.
Sunset.
Oatmeal.
Oatmeal.
Airplane.
Earthquake.
Pancake.
Hungry.
Birthday.
Airplane.
Toothbrush.
Toothbrush.
Sunset.
Sunset.
All right, we're gonna do some sentences now. Okay, just repeat back the sentence as best you can.
How many times have you given this lecture?
How many times are you doing this worksheet?
The little girl mistreated the pet cat.
The little girl was dealing.
I never knew Timbuktu was a real place.
Real place.
I am craving chocolate chip cookies.
I am craving chocolate chip cookies.
Let's do something we have never done.
Looks like something you've never done.
She made her own business cards on the computer.
She made a wrong decision on the computer.
The dog's paws were frostbitten.
Her gloves were frostbitten.
Do you still have the lizard?
Do you have the weather?
He works 4 10-hour shifts.
He works 4 10-hour shifts.
This is my favorite song.
This is my favorite song.
Meditation brings a higher level of awareness.
Brings a high level of awareness.
Could you make the shake thicker, please?
Could you make this sheet bigger, please?
He put a horse's head in their bed.
Universal hearing in your bag.
Have a nice lunch.
This March.
Her fake nails were unnaturally thick.
Perfect now, naturally bag.
She was top banana in the shock department.
I don't know.
You can rest assured.
You can rest assured.
The puppies will train to be seeing eye dogs.
Seeing eye dogs, or they're trained to be seeing eye dogs.
If I had a gold star, you'd be wearing it.
If I had a gold star, you'd be wearing it.
She wanted to follow in his footsteps.
She wanted to follow in his footsteps.
All right, we're gonna do some words now, okay? Just repeat back the words you hear.
Mm.
It'll say, ready, duck.
Okay.
Just say that last word. You don't have to keep saying ready.
Ready, bomb.
Bond.
Ready, June.
June.
Ready, head.
Bank.
Ready, numb.
Roll.
Ready, bar.
Bar.
Ready, more.
Moon.
Ready, faith.
Bake.
Ready, soon.
Soon.
Ready, toss.
Toss.
Ready, life.
Month.
Ready, hut.
Out.
Ready, joke.
Joke.
Ready, for.
Old.
Ready, vote.
Work.
Ready, keen.
Key.
Ready, yam.
Name.
Ready, mate.
Night.
Ready, gull.
Gone.
Ready, tone.
Town.
Ready, bush.
Push.
Ready, house.
House.
Ready, lake.
Lake.
Hi there.
Right.
All right. I'm going to take this out.
Mm.
It's nice to meet you, and not through the glass window.
Yeah.
All right. Doing great.
Yeah. Some of it is like, this doesn't sound like a word, but I hear something.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
It is okay not to get all of it correct.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing a really nice job. All right. So you can go ahead and put your hearing aid on.
Okay.
You got it. Perfect.
Do I still need this?
Yes, because
Okay.
we're going to do the same testing, but with the hearing aid to kind of get an idea how you're doing kind of in the real world.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
All right, gonna do that word repetition task again. Just repeat the word you hear, okay?
Farewell,
Farewell.
padlock,
Padlock.
stairway,
Stairway.
toothbrush,
Toothbrush. Pancake. baseball, airplane, playground.
Okay, doing great. Next, we're gonna do the sentences again, okay? Just repeat back the sentence as best you can.
I would be glad to take a message for him.
We would be glad to take a message for him.
His hospitality was matched by none.
His hospitality was matched by none.
You don't have $50 million.
You don't have $50 million.
We will have champagne at the reception.
We will have champagne at the reception.
Please pass the salt.
Please pass the salt.
The purple velvet curtains were very expensive.
The purple velvet curtains were very expensive.
The road was all torn up and under construction.
The road was all torn up and under construction.
We are holding on to what is golden.
We are holding on to what is golden.
I love the sound of thunder and heavy rain.
I love the sound of thunder and heavy rain.
I am not a psychiatrist, but I sense some issues.
I am not a psychiatrist, but I sense some issues.
Their marriage is on the rocks.
Their marriage is on the rocks.
Most of the players had criminal records.
Most of the players had criminal records.
We're gonna do the same thing. This time there'll just be a little bit of background noise, okay?
Okay.
Just ignores that background noise, all right?
Yeah.
They tried to fashion a weapon from a stick.
They tried to fashion a weapon with a stick.
The produce at the market was in horrible condition.
The produce at the market was horrible condition.
The book was about a child sorcerer.
The book was about a child sorcerer.
What you call ugly, I call interesting.
What you call ugly, I call interesting.
You can't change your life without getting out of bed.
You can't change your life without getting out of bed.
Will you marry me?
Will you marry me?
Mom and Dad offered to pay for the wedding.
Mom and Dad offered to pay for the wedding.
A lot of things were said in anger.
A lot of things were said in anger.
Her sister was anorexic as well as self-centered.
Her sister was anorexic as well as self-centered.
These sentences are getting old.
These sentences are getting old.
She watched the sneak preview of the new film.
She watched the preview of the new film.
She made a scrapbook of important moments.
She made a scrapbook about important moments.
For this test, we'll be doing words. You'll hear the word with ready. Just say that word back, okay?
CNC List 4.
CNC List 4.
Ready?
Oh.
Duck.
Duck.
Ready? Bomb.
Bomb.
Ready? June.
June.
Ready? Him.
Him.
Ready? Lap.
Laugh.
Ready? Give.
Give.
Ready? Bone.
Bone.
Ready? Long.
Long.
Ready? Dose.
Dose.
Ready? Foot.
Foot.
Ready? Chum.
Chum.
Ready? Higher.
Iron.
Ready? Pause.
Pause.
Ready? Loan.
Loan.
Ready? Loud.
Loud.
Ready? Said.
Said.
Ready? Serve.
Serve.
Ready? Wig.
Wig.
Ready? Pack.
Pack.
Ready? Birch.
Birch.
Ready? Pool.
Pool.
Ready? Rice.
Rice.
Ready? When.
When.
Ready? Keep.
Keep.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Woo! That was a lot, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was so much fun, though, right? All right.
It's surprising, well, it's like so much easier with my other ear.
It's always going to be is the
Yeah.
thing. Like, we know what the outcomes for single-sided deafness. I mean, even though you're hearing so much more than you ever have been on that side, it's still never going to be as good as that right ear or hearing with both ears together.
Mm-hmm.
But that side is, you're more or less where we would expect for you to be from a word understanding standpoint out of your left ear, which is awesome.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah. So even though you haven't had, your exercises the last couple months, I am not upset about that because your word understanding has not decreased in the slightest.
Okay.
So you're great on that front.
So did I stay about the same as it?
So I'm like trying to look over at the results. You did better on the sentences. You got more of the sentences correct. Those individual, like ready, ball, ready, duck. Those words you performed about the same as you did the last time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's good because you are right within the range where we would expect for somebody to be a year out with the cochlear implant for single-sided deafness. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the sentences were pretty, like, the most challenging
Yeah,
thing.
it's because they're... I can take that button.
Okay.
Because they're ridiculous sentences. Nobody is ever going to say sentences like that in real life.
Well, it just really all blurred together.
Yes.
Which is a big thing.
Yeah, no, you are not wrong. But you did really well with them. And obviously when we put both ears together, you lived it. You know how much easier it is with both. But that means you're getting something really good out of that left side.
Before I had this surgery, didn't I have to do this test?
You sure did.
Do you have, do you know what the results were?
I believe the results were 0%.
Well,
out of that side.
well, I mean, they had me wear, just my hearing aid and, my cross aid.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Versus,
let me, if you'd like, I can go check that for you.
Oh, yeah. I'm just curious.
No, that's a very reasonable point. I can check that for you. But one more thing I will say, even though from a hearing and speech understanding standpoint on your left side, it looks good. From a volume standpoint, I actually think that we might be able to get you hearing, volumes of sounds even better. So your detection levels are within what we'd consider, the moderate range. And I'd love to get you hearing the volume of sounds even better on that left side.
Okay.
So I would like to make some programming changes for you today. So while I'm pulling up your stuff, what I'm going to do, I'll bring this box down here so that we can get it a little closer to your body. I'll put it here. I'm going to, we've done this before. I'm just going to run what are called impedances, which you've done before, just to make sure that everything's still connecting up beautifully. And while I'm doing that, I will go ahead and figure out how you did pre-implant over a year ago.
Was it worth it type of thing?
Without looking at them, I would say yes. But let me find out the exact numbers and I can answer that a bit better for you.
Okay.
Alrighty. Obviously, you're not going to be able to hear out of that side because they don't have your processor on. Hang tight a minute or two while this runs and while I get those results for you, okay?
Thanks.
To answer the question you had previously, preoperatively, in your left ear, you got 19% of the sentences correct on that side.
With
just your...
With the cross?
With the cross.
Okay.
Yeah. So just your left ear. Today, with just your left side, you got, are you ready for it? 62%.
Ooh.
So I'd say, you got a little bit better. And then in terms of the words, you got 0% of them. For today was 44%.
Wow.
You had 8%. We also test like how many of the sounds you get. So like in a word like cat, you've got k, t, or not nobody says caught. So we also test how many of those you get right. You had 8% right then. You got 57% right today.
That's great.
So to answer your question as to whether or not it's worth it, ultimately that's up to what you think, but I think these are fantastic gains.
Yeah.
Compared to more or less 0% that you were getting before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have more like sense of direction.
Absolutely, yeah.
Versus like the cross aid helped, but like it was disorienting.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like you're having the idea that something's going on, but you still can't pinpoint exactly where it's from. Now, if like somebody drops something on your left side, you can be like, it was over there, as opposed to it was somewhere, which is not as helpful.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would definitely say that these are very good improvements, and they're definitely within the range that we would be expecting. John and I were looking at the research earlier, and what did I say?
We said from about 67%, about from 30.
Yeah,
so
that's what we're expecting. So yeah, we're looking for like a 37% increase usually, and what is this? I can't do that kind of math. We're looking at about a 43% increase, which is even better than what the average person like is expected to increase by. So that's really great. You are, when I say you're right where we want for the word understanding, you are exactly where we want for word understanding at this point out.
That's good.
The only, like I said, the only thing I think we could get you even better on is like the detection of very, very soft sounds, which we can definitely do for you today.
Okay.
Yeah. Right, did that answer that question?
Yeah.
That was a really long answer. I'm so sorry.